Public service announcement. Cool is overrated. Nobody cares about cool, or at least nobody should care about cool. You shouldn't waste a moment of your life worrying about whether you're cool or not, and you definitely should not waste a moment of your life trying to be cool, or trying to act cool, or worrying that you're not cool. Even the word cool is not even cool anymore. I don't even know what the cool word is these days. But if there's one thing I've learned over the last 40 years of being alive in this world, it's that cool is a moment. Cool is a moment. You know, I turned 40 this year and I realized I became irrelevant. And you become irrelevant precisely at the very moment at which you recognize that many of the components of popular culture make absolutely no sense to you whatsoever. I try to listen to everything. I told you this in a previous episode. I try to listen to everything that everybody is doing. And so everybody was talking about Frank Ocean this year. Everybody was talking about his long-awaited album, and it was supposed to drop at a certain day, and it didn't drop. And then everybody was waiting, and everybody was talking, and everybody was speculating as to why it didn't come. And then when it came, I thought, man, I better check this out. I better see what this is all about. And I downloaded that album, and I listened to it in its entirety, from song to song to song. And it didn't get any better at all. That listening experience, I'll never get that hour back. I'll never get that hour back. I mean, some of the songs sounded like he just started to make the song but gave up. Like he just quit. Like some of the songs sounded like he put half of a beat behind the song and then started talking nonsense and then just gave up. And you know what? It's not just Frank Ocean. It's so much of the popular music out there that when I listen to it, it don't make a lick of sense to me. And at first I thought, when I started to recognize this, I thought, man, these young people have lost their minds. I mean, the whole millennial generation, whatever you call them, they done lost their minds. I mean, they have gone crazy. That's the first thing I thought. But then the next thought I had was, wait a minute, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I was listening to groups like the Fushnikins. You ever heard the Fushnikins? Bump, skibbity, bump, 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 bump. I got my feet skiddly, bump, bump. I'm hyper than Pinocchio's nose because I'm a supercalifragilistic extra tic-tac-toe. I got my oopsie, daisy. I mean, when I was 15, 16 years old and the Fushnikins came out with that song, we thought that was the tightest thing. I was like, man, that is tight. That's what everybody said. Oh, that's tight. That was so tight. Oh, that was tight. Oh, that was tight. But I could imagine a 40-year-old listening to that song and going, man, these young people have lost their minds. I guess what I'm saying is that I was in that moment, and that was cool to us in that moment. Even if everybody in the world agrees this is cool, there's a secret word at the end of that sentence. This is cool today. It may not be cool tomorrow. But what I'm finding is, when I was younger, I worried a lot about cool. But as I've gotten older, I've begun to worry more about valuable. The things that are valuable are more important than the things that are cool. Now, I started this episode today with a poor, first of all, very poor quality video. I'm still trying to get the hang of this vlogging thing. I don't have the right equipment. I can make these cool in-studio videos, but as soon as I take my camera out, it doesn't have autofocus, so I'm trying to pull focus. I'm not a professional, so I don't pull focus very well, and the focus goes in and out with the videos I make, so even though I'm using a high-powered DSLR full-frame camera, these videos that I make out on the street look really janky. But there's this video of my dad singing and my mom singing, but I focused in on my dad singing "Great is Your Faithfulness." You know what? That's beyond cool to me. Like, that is, my dad doesn't have the voice that he had when he was 25 or 30. And he used to sing in operas. But you know what? I've never been ashamed of him a day in my life. Like, I've never looked at my pops and said, he's just not cool. Like, no, that's my pops. Like, when I listen to him sing, or when I see him do whatever he does, my mom, when I listen to her sing, when I see her do whatever she does, I see my treasure. That is, I see value. I'm not looking for cool. I see value. Hearing the sound of my father's prayers going all the way back to when I was a little boy became a treasure to me. And this is the key. Jesus says, where a man's treasure is, there will his heart be also. The problem of immaturity is that we begin to place our treasure in things that are cool rather than in things that are valuable. And we begin to emulate the cool rather than the valuable. This is the key. This is what I was really trying to get to. Listening to the sound of my father's prayers from the time I was a little boy gave me a deep sense of ultimate value. And I began to emulate it instinctively. I began to emulate the sound of his prayers because I saw value there. I saw the value of it. If you want to grow in any area of your life, you've got to be able to recognize value. Because when you identify something as being of value, you will instinctively identify the good, discern the good in it, and emulate it. We are living in the most critical culture in the history of culture. In the history of human civilization, I don't believe there's ever been a more critical culture. Everybody is criticizing everything. Criticism is a way of life. It's a culture of outrage. Everybody's outraged about this and outraged about that, and everybody's upset and everybody's dividing. If you don't agree with me, you're against me, and if you don't see it by my perspective, you're against me, and we're so critical. And it's not just about this recent election that just happened. We've been dividing amongst ourselves far longer than that. We've just become a divisive culture. Western civilization has become one of the most divisive mechanisms in the world, in the history of the world. I am far less interested in telling you what I am against. I'm far more interested in telling you what I'm for. But if you want to know what I'm for, you're going to have to go on a journey with me. If I wanted to tell you what I'm for, I can take you back and tell you some memories of when those values were instilled in my heart, like the memory of me being a little boy, maybe 5, 6 years old, And my mother and I were walking out of the Oakland Ice Creamery on Lakeshore Boulevard, and there was a homeless man sitting on the ground, and my mother stopped and she looked at him for a moment, and I saw compassion fill her face, and she said to him, "Are you hungry?" And he looked very humble and said, "Yes, I am." My mother said, "Can I get you a meal?" He said, "I would appreciate that very much." He had not asked for anything. My mother went into the restaurant, ordered food, waited for it to be prepared, and then took it and gave it to that man and fed that man. She didn't say a word to me about it. But in my heart, number one, I had never been so proud of my mother as I was in that moment. But number two, I resolved in my heart at that moment that I wanted to have that kind of compassion. And that in my lifetime, I wanted to emulate that kind of compassion. That is, I began to treasure the compassion of my mother that she exhibited in that one moment. That one moment was all it took to seal it in my heart. So you want to know what I treasure? I got to take you back. And I got to show you what has transpired in my past. Now that I've gotten that off my chest, want me to show you something cool? Want to see something cool? This is cool. Check this out. Look at this. Look at this.
This Bible was given to my mother, and this is for her, I think it's her 22nd birthday, and a wedding gift from my dad, from your husband. And my dad drew the artwork, Matthew, and he wrote this to Mama. Wow. And this is from my dad, and that's his artwork.
What year?
Wow.
Look at these.
She was born in
things
1912.
worn.
And she was 22. That would be 1934.
Okay.
That's it, I think, yeah.
And then here's her phone number, TW3-0477. No, that's Elder Finley's number.
Twin Oaks.
Twin Oaks 3.
My God.
She hears another district meeting, 23rd to the 27th.
She just took random notes in there too.
That was Mama.
So this Bible is probably from 1934.
Probably so. But this was the treasure.